Can you believe this tweet by Father's Diary? Peak male life experiences. Number 1, first heartbreak. 2, first great sex. 3, watching someone you helped hit a big win. 4, ending imposter syndrome. 5, finally understanding your father. 6, owning your first car. 7, owning your first real estate property. 8, someone calling you sir and realizing they mean it with respect. 9, fixing something with your hands that once intimidated you. 10, sitting in silence after a major event. 11, a younger man seeking your advice and recognizing yourself in him. 12, accepting the man in the mirror. 13, randomly realizing this is the woman you want to marry. 14, becoming successful with your childhood friends. 15, sports teams winning a title. 16, watching your kids grow. 17, giving back to your parents. Alright, let's play. Should we bookmark this, keep it in the bank, or throw it away, flush it down the toilet? If you like self-improvement videos with a little bit of laughter in it, check out my other videos to improve, and if they really help you or you laugh enough that it's funny, think about subscribing and liking this video. Alright, back to the video. Alright, now let's step back from the comment. What kind of tweet is this? This is identity based. It's milestone focused. It's not about money tips. It's not about gym routines. It's about moments that make you feel like you crossed a line from boyhood into manhood. And if you look closely, there's a clear pattern. It starts with emotion, first heartbreak. That's usually the first time a guy feels deep pain tied to love. It humbles you. It strips your ego. It forces growth. You realize you're not invincible. Then it moves to validation. First great sex. For many men, that moment feels like proof. Proof of attractiveness. Proof of worth. Proof that you're no longer a kid. Then it shifts towards contribution. Watching someone you helped hit a big win. That's different. That's not about you anymore. That's pride and impact. Then internal battles. And the imposter syndrome. Then when you stop feeling like a fraud, when you finally believe you deserve to be where you are, then reflection. Finally understanding your father. That one hits deeper with age. When you're young, you judge. When you grow, you understand. You start seeing him as a man, not just dad. Then comes ownership. Car, property, tools, fixing things with your own hands. These are symbols of responsibility, of capability, of independence. And then respect. Someone calling you sir and meaning it, that's subtle but powerful. It means your presence carries weight on it. You're not just existing, you're an establishment. You're established. Then it moves into legacy. A younger man asking you for advice, watching your kids grow, giving back to your parent. That's full circle. Boy, man, mentor, father, provider. This tweet is mapping growth through moment. But here's the question. Are these moments the peak or are they the result? Because none of these happen by accident. Heartbreak comes from caring deeply. Great sex comes from confidence and connection. Helping someone win comes from having something to give. Ending imposter syndrome comes from stacking proof. Owning property comes from discipline. Being called sir comes from how you carry yourself. A young man seeking advice comes from how you've lived. Watching your kids grow comes from building a family. Giving back to your parents comes from building wealth or stability. So are these the peaks or are they the checkpoints on a longer road? That's where it gets interesting. A lot of guys read lists like this and feel inspired. Some feel behind, some feel motivated, some feel pressured, because when you see peak male experiences, you start measuring yourself. Have I had that yet? Am I close? Am I late? But growth doesn't follow a clean timeline. Some men understand their father at 20, some at 40, some never. Some own property early. Some prioritize freedom over ownership. Some become mentors in business. Some become mentors in family. The list feels universal, but the path is personal. And here's something else most people don't notice. None of these peaks are loud party moments. Even the biggest ones, sitting in silence after a major win, is quiet. Accepting the man in the mirror, quiet. Understanding your father, quiet. Giving back to your parents, quiet. The loud stuff fades fast. The quiet stuff stays, which tells you something important. Manhood isn't about noise. It's about internal alignment. It's about responsibility increasing. It's about identity settling. It's about ego shrinking while strength grows. That's the pattern. From seeking validation to building value to becoming valuable to others. When you read this tweet, don't just see a checklist. See a progression. Pain to proof to ownership to respect to legacy. And then ask yourself again, are these moments the peak or are they the results of years of unseen discipline, mistakes, growth, and patience? Because if they're the result, that means the real work isn't in chasing the moment. It's in becoming the man who naturally arrives there. And that's a much deeper idea than most people are thinking about. Okay, let's talk about what the tweet actually gets right. Because before you critique something, you have to respect what it understands. And the list understands something important about men. First, men grow through experience, not theory. You can read books about confidence. You can watch podcasts about masculinity. You can study leadership principles. But none of that hits the same as lived experience. Heartbreak teaches you more about attachment than any quote ever could. Failing publicly teaches you more about humility than any motivational speech. Trying, losing, rebuilding, that's where growth happens. Most men don't mature because someone explains life to them. They mature because life forced them to adapt. That's why this tweet resonates. It builds around moments you feel, not ideas you study. Second, pain builds depth. Look at the early items on this list. First, heartbreak, enduring imposter syndrome. Those aren't victories, they're struggles. Heartbreak strips away ego, exposes insecurity, it forces self-reflection. You start asking hard questions questions. Was I enough? What did I miss? What do I need to improve? That pain deepens you. Same with imposter syndrome. Feeling like you don't belong somewhere is uncomfortable. You feel small. You feel like you're pretending. But when you push through that, when you gain real competence, you earn quiet confidence. Not loud confidence, earned confidence. Pain adds layers. A man who has never struggled often stays shallow. A man who has rebuilt himself carries weight in his presence. And that's real. Third, respect from others hits different than validation. There's a big difference between someone liking you and someone respecting you. Validation is quick. It's attention, compliments, applause, attraction. Respect is slower. Respect comes from consistency, from competence, from how you handle pressure, from how you treat people when you don't need anything from them. When someone calls you sir and means it, that's not flirt energy, that's earned presence. When a young man asks for your advice, that's not hype, that's acknowledgement. Respect feels heavier because it's tied to character, not image. And men, whether they admit it or not, crave respect more than attention. That's why the line in the tweet stands out. Fourth, providing and building creates pride. Owning your first car, owning your first property, fixing something with your hands that once intimidated you. Those moments aren't about the object, they're about capability. Capability builds pride. When you can build something, fix something, pay for something, protect something, you feel grounded. Providing isn't just about money, it's about stability. It's knowing you can handle your life. There's a shift that happens when you stop depending on others for basic needs and start creating security yourself. That shift feels powerful. And when you build something with your childhood friends, that's even deeper because now it's not just about personal success, it's shared success. It's loyalty paying off. That hits different than solo wins. Fifth, giving back to your parents closes emotional loops. This one might be the deepest on the list. When you're young, your parents provide for you. They sacrifice, they protect, they guide. Imperfectly, but they try. As you grow, especially if you mature, something changes. You start seeing them as people, not just authority figures. You understand their stress, their fears, their limitation. And when you reach a point where you can give back, financially, emotionally, practically, something completes. It feels like a circle closing. You're no longer just a receiver, you become capable of support. That moment isn't the loudest, it's heavy. It's gratitude mixed with growth, and it signals something deeper than success. It signals responsibility. That's what this tweet understands well. It's not really about flashy wins, it's about transition, from needing to providing, from doubting to believing, from seeking approval to earning respect, from being protected to protect. Here's something else it gets right. Most of these moments can be faked. You can pretend confidence, you can fake status online, you can borrow symbols of success, but you can't fake watching your kids grow. You can't fake understanding your father. You can't fake mentoring someone who sees themselves in you. Those require time, and time is the one thing you can't shortcut. That's why this list resonates emotionally, because it reflects real development, not aesthetic masculinity, not performative alpha behavior, not surface level flexing, but layered growth. Now, does this list capture everything? No, but it captures something real. Men evolve through responsibility, pain, building, and contribution, not through talk, through experience, and that's a mature perspective to acknowledge before you can even try to critique it. So let's talk about what it misses. Let's take a step back from this tweet about peak male life experiences, because while it hits on some really powerful moments, it also leaves out a lot that actually matter, and understanding what it misses can make the whole idea much more useful. First, peak moments are earned through boring seasons. Look at the list. First heartbreak, first property, mentoring a younger man. These feel like milestones, big, memorable, Instagram-worthy moments, but none of these show the messy, boring effort that makes them possible. Heartbreak comes after years of trying, caring, failing, and learning how to manage emotion. Owning a car or property comes after countless small decisions, saving money, learning responsibility, making mistakes that no one knows about. It's not on video, so no one could really say what a tough time that was. Mentoring someone else only works if you've been quietly building competence and character, often without people telling you good job or anything like that. Life is mostly the slow grind. The peak moments just signal that the grind worked. If you only chase milestones and skip the boring seasons, you'll never get there. Second, emotional maturity matters more than the milestones. It's easy to think owning a house, getting respect, or hitting certain milestones equals being a man, but those are outcomes, not proof of maturity. Emotional growth comes from how you handle yourself daily. How do you respond to failure? How do you manage anger? How do you treat people who can't do anything for you? How do you forgive? These are the real makers of manhood, and they take years to develop. You can have a house at 25 and still be emotionally mature. You can mentor someone at 30 and still struggle to control your impulses. Milestones are visible, but emotional maturity is invisible. It's inner. It's inside you, and that's what shapes real life. No one could see it, but you have to build on it. Third, ownership Ownership doesn't equal identity. Owning a car, a house, or even a business can make you feel proud, but it doesn't automatically define who you are. You can buy a fancy car and still feel lost inside. You can have a house and still lack confidence or purpose. Material achievements are tools, not the core of identity. Identity comes from the combination of value, habits, and how you show up consistently. In other words, success isn't what you own, it's who you become while earning it. And that's what the tweet doesn't emphasize enough. Fourth, respect is built daily, not in one moment. The tweet mentions moments like someone calling you sir or mentoring a younger man. These are amazing, but respect doesn't appear overnight. You can't earn it in a single milestone. Respect comes from your daily choices, how you communicate, how you show up for others, how you manage your word, how you handle conflict, and how you stick to your values. One moment of recognition is just a glimpse. The real work is invisible. It's in every small interaction you've had leading up to the recognition. This is an important distinction because too many young men chase moments instead of focusing on daily behavior. The moments are nice. They are the reward, not the foundation. Fifth, accepting yourself is ongoing, not one decision. The tweet talks about accepting the man in the mirror as a peak experience. That sounds neat, but the truth is that self-acceptance is never done. You've had days where you feel like you're falling short. You'll notice flaws you hadn't seen before. You'll fail at responsibilities. You'll compare yourself to others and feel inadequate. Accepting yourself isn't a checkbox. It's a continuous practice, balancing humanity and confidence, recognizing mistakes while celebrating progress, and choosing growth over self-criticism. Peak experience might accelerate self-understanding, but they aren't a cure. Here's something else the tweet misses: the value of ordinary life and small wins. Watching your kid grow, giving back to your parents, mentoring a younger man, these are all long arcs of repeating actions. Often no one notices them. Sometimes they're very quiet, but the everyday effort you put into relationships, discipline, and personal growth is what makes those peaks meaningful. Without the daily work, the milestones would just feel hollow. Another missing piece: connection between milestones. The tweet lists them like separate trophies: first heartbreak, first property, mentoring someone. But real life isn't a checklist. Each of these moments builds on the last. Heartbreak teaches empathy, which helps you guide someone else. Understanding your father gives you a perspective that makes your own parents stronger. Small successes compound over time. The tweet doesn't show that these peaks are interlinked. Finally, their context. Not everyone hits these milestones in the same order, or even at the same age. Social pressure makes it feel like there's a timeline. You should own a car by 20, have a house by 25, get married by 28, but growth is personal, not universal. Recognizing this avoids unnecessary comparison or shame. So what this tweet misses is the messy reality underneath the shiny list. It misses the boring, consistent effort possible that make peaks possible. It misses the invisible emotional growth that defines maturity. It misses the truth that ownership isn't identity. It misses that respect is earned daily. And it misses that self-acceptance is a practice, not a single victory. Understanding what's missing doesn't make the list bad. It makes it richer. It shows you that life isn't a highlight reel. It's a combination of daily choices, unseen effort, and emotional growth that eventually creates those moments worth remembering. If you focus only on the peaks, you risk chasing moments instead of building yourself. But if you focus on the process, your consistency, your emotional depth, your integrity, your habits, the peaks naturally arrive, and they feel real, lasting, and earned. Now let's zoom into this even more. Let's go explain it even longer. Let's explain it even more. Let's take a step back from the list of peak male life experiences and zone. Because while the tweet shows moments, heartbreak, first property, mentoring someone, those moments are really just signals of a deeper story. If you look closely, there's a pattern in all of them, and that pattern tells us what manhood, growth, and fulfillment really looks like. First, manhood is responsibility expanding over time. Every milestone on the list isn't just about a trophy or an experience, it's about how much you can handle. Heartbreak tests your emotional endurance. Owning a car tests your responsibility for your possessions and safety. Mentoring a younger man tests your ability to guide without needing anything in return. Watching a child grow tests your patience, care, and presence. Manhood isn't a single achievement. It's not a checklist you tick off. It's a process where responsibility grows and your capacity to handle life increases. Each peak experience is just a marker that says you've grown a little, you can handle more now. Second, every peak comes after uncertainty. None of these moments happen smoothly or instantly. Heartbreak is messy. Buying your first property is complicated and stressful. Mentoring someone requires trial and error. Before each moment, there's usually confusion, insecurity, and doubt. Growth always starts in that uncomfortable place. You don't arrive at mastery without a period of struggle. You don't earn respect without proving yourself quietly over time. You don't feel confident without failing first. The pattern here is clear. The peaks aren't magic. They're the reward for learning. They're the reward for leaning into uncertainty. If you avoid discomfort, you avoid growth. And the moments that feels like peaks lose their meaning because they weren't earned. Third, growth often feels lonely before it feels powerful. Think about the examples: enduring imposter syndrome, accepting yourself in the mirror, watching someone you help succeed. These aren't group celebrations. They're quiet realizations. Often you're alone in these experiences. experiences. No one else notices the struggles leading up to them. This is important because it's easy to think life should feel exciting all the time, like a short or a TikTok. But real growth, the kind that makes you a capable, respected man, often starts in private. You practice discipline, patience, and competence when no one is watching, and it's only later that others see the results. So if you feel lonely during the grind, that's actually a good sign. It means you're doing the real work that leads to meaningful peaks. Fourth, you don't chase respect, you become respectable. Look at the tweets moment, being called sir, mentoring a younger man, seeing your child's friends succeed. Respect shows up as a byproduct. You don't force it, you earn it. Chasing status, appearances, or approval often backfire. People can sense when you're performing, and respect slips away. But when you focus on developing competence, character, and contribution, respect arrives naturally. This is a huge difference. Many guys think that being peak is about showing off milestones, but the bigger pattern is about quietly becoming someone who deserves recognition. The moment itself is just a reflection. The work happens every day, often unseen. Fifth, fulfillment comes from contribution, not status. Notice the pattern in the examples. Helping someone succeed, giving back to your parents, mentoring a younger man. These aren't ego-driven moments. They're about adding value to other lives. True fulfillment isn't in being admired, owning things, or hitting milestones for show. It's in being useful, supportive, and meaningful to people and situations around you. Giving back, guiding, or protecting, that's what fills the empty space that status alone can't. If you zoom out, the tweet is actually teaching a subtle lesson. It's not the list itself that matters, it's the directions of your life. Are you expanding responsibility? Are you leaning into uncertainty? Are you putting in the quiet work? Are you building competence, character, and contribution? Here's another angle that's often overlooked. The peaks are interconnected. You don't hit one milestone and suddenly arrive. Heartbreak teaches empathy that helps you guide someone else. Understanding your father shapes your own relationships. Achieving your first property teaches discipline that carries into parenting. Each moment builds on previous growth. Life isn't a checklist, it's a chain reaction. And finally, there's the time factor. Notice that these peaks don't have ages attached. That's important because men often panic when they compare themselves to others online or in society. You might not own your first house at 25 or mentor someone at 30 or watch your kid grow at the same time as a friend, and that's okay. Growth doesn't follow a rigid timeline. What matters is that you're moving in the right direction, expanding responsibility, leading to discomfort, and building real competence over time. So when you read this tweet, don't just see a list of impressive moments, see the underlying framework. Responsibility grows over time. Peak comes after uncertainty and struggle. Real growth starts in quiet, often lonely effort. Respect can't be chased, it's earned through consistency. Fulfillment comes from contribution, not status. This is the life pattern behind every peak experience. It shows that manhood isn't about moments, it's about a process. It's about being a man who naturally arrives at these peaks rather than rushing towards them or chasing them like trophies. And once you see that pattern, everything changes. You stop measuring yourself against other milestones. You start measuring yourself against your own growth. The responsibility you can handle, the struggles you can endure, the contributions you make, the character you build, because life isn't a list. Life is a process. And these moments, they're just the proof that the process is working. Alright, so let's reflect. Now let's get personal for a second. When you read this tweet, one about peak male life experiences, which one hits you hardest? I want you to really think about it. Not the ones you should care about or the ones that look impressive online, but the ones that actually made you pause. That pause tells you something about where you are in life and what matters most to you right now. Here's the thing. Different ages value different items. If you're in your early 20s, your focus might be on first heartbreak, first great sex, or finally understanding your father. Those moments feel huge because they shape the sense of self, identity, and relationships. If you're in your late 20s or 30s, owning your first car or property, mentoring someone younger, or providing for your family might hit different. They carry more weight because they show you're capable of responsibility, stability, and impact. If you're in your 40s or 50s, watching your child grow, giving back to your parent, or realizing who you are in the mirror may resonate most. Because by then, you've had enough life experience to understand the depth of each moment, of those moments. See how the same list isn't one size fits all? That's why it's so powerful, but also why it can be misleading if you compare yourself to someone else. Next, some moments can't be rushed. You might be tempted to check them off, like box on a list. First property? Hurry up. First big win for someone you mentored? Need it yesterday. But life doesn't work that way. Some things need time, maturity, and preparation. Heartbreak teaches lessons that nothing else can, but it only comes when the right people, situations, and choices intersect. First property comes after years of effort and discipline. Watching your child grow, there's no shortcut. Accepting yourself in the mirror, that's a lifetime practice. Rushing those moments don't just steal the joy, it also steals the growth they're meant to give of you. And this leads to something important. Comparison steals meaning. Scrolling online, seeing others' peak moments plastered on social media makes it feel like everyone else is ahead. That guy already owns a house. That friend is already mentoring someone. That influencer already hit their first big milestone. Here's the truth. None of the stories shows the struggle behind the scenes. They show you the peak, but not the climb. Comparing yourself to someone else takes a lesson out of your own journey. It makes you forget that your path is unique, your timing is unique, and your growth is unique. Instead, focus on your own milestones, the one that matters to you right now. Celebrate progress that isn't perfect, isn't flashy, and sometimes it's even visible to anyone else. That's where the real meaning is. Finally, there's no universal timeline. You don't have to hit all these peaks by 25, 30, or even 40. Life doesn't work like a checklist. Some men take longer to get their first car, or the first property, or even the first big win in work or relationships, and that's okay. The point isn't speed. The point isn't comparison. The point isn't growth. Are you moving forward? Are you learning from mistakes? Are you handling responsibility better than you did yesterday? That's what matters. Here's a little truth that I want you to hold on to. Sometimes the peaks you're waiting for arrive when you're not even thinking about them. They show up quietly, almost unexpectedly, as a result of consistent effort, patience, and maturity. And when that happens, you appreciate it more because you've earned it, not because someone told you to reach it by some fucking age. So take a moment right now and reflect. Which of these experiences actually matters most to you at this stage in your life? Which one feels far off but worth the wait? And which ones might you already be closer to than you think, even if no one else notices? This is where the power of reflection comes in, because the tweet gives you a list of milestones, but the real growth comes from internalizing the meaning behind them. It's not about showing off. It's about understanding what kind of man you become and how your choices, patience, and responsibilities are shaping that. And one last thing, don't forget to be patient with yourself. Some days you'll feel like you're behind. Other days you'll notice tiny wins stacking up. Both are part of the journey. The peaks aren't the point. The growth leading to them is. So when you read this tweet again, don't just skim it. Let it be a mirror. Ask yourself, which of these moments speaks to me today? Which one am I building towards without realizing it? And which ones do I need to stop worrying about right now? And which ones do I have to stop worrying about for now? Because reflection, like that, honest, patient, and personal, is how these milestones actually become meaningful. It turns a list of peak experiences into a framework for growth, self-awareness, and real fulfillment. And here's another little secret. You don't need to have all the peaks yet to feel like you're winning at life. You're already progressing with the things you've learned, the habits you're building, and the responsibility you're taking on today. Those quiet steps often matter more than big, flashy milestones. Before we wrap it up, I want to take a moment to slow it down and bring it all together. You've just gone through a list of peak male life experiences, reflecting on which moments hit hardest, and thought about how growth isn't a timeline but a process. And here's the thing, this is exactly why I spent so much time talking about growth, discipline, and identity. So if any part of this resonated with you, I break it down even deeper on different videos of my channel, which you can go check out. But if you need help figuring out your life a little bit, or something else that's bothering you that you need help with, go